What's going on, y'all? I'm your host, Paco Elijah, and you're tuning in to Liberty Watch. Don't forget to like the page if you haven't already, and check out the site, occupythemedia.com. We're growing. Our page, I think, is past 12,000 now. And also, don't forget about the YouTube page. We're trying to grow that as well. But basically, I've been out for a couple of weeks. It's been really crazy. Just been preoccupied with all the news and with what's going on with social media and all these big stories from Baton Rouge and then the Dallas shooting with these police shootings. And I think it's very important that we libertarians put this out there and that we understand, or we help people understand, that these police shootings is what we call blowback. The same way when you bomb people in the Middle East and you occupy their land, you kill innocent people, they are going to want to retaliate. They are going to want to kill more Americans. That is not hard to understand. It's not rocket science. You bomb my people, you bomb my families, my homes, and you occupy our land, then we're going to want to come after you, and we're going to want to retaliate and do something about it. You are creating terrorism. You're creating more terrorists. Same way with these police shootings. You keep gunning down people, you keep harassing people, you keep violating people's rights, and then there's no repercussion, there's hardly any accountability, hardly any of these cops get arrested or interrogated or put on trial or put in jail. And then we wonder why people want to retaliate against the police. This is not rocket science. Again, it's common sense. Okay? When you create terrorism, then that's what you're going to get back. When you're violent towards people, don't be surprised when they're violent back. Okay? It doesn't necessarily mean it's right or that we should be out there harming police, but it should be expected and you should understand so we can address the problem. And when we address the problem, which is police brutality, them violating the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, when we address that problem and they stop violating our rights, then all of us can walk around more safe, and all of us, including the cops, don't have to worry about our safety. Okay, and that's what it is. I mean, if you know someone who's a cop or you're a cop yourself, then you should be mad about police brutality as well. You should be more upset with police brutality than anyone, because these officers who are killing people and getting off and violating people's rights and harassing them are making every other cop out there, making their lives less safe. Okay, because you're associated with them. You're part of that gang. Maybe you don't want to hurt no one, you don't want to harm no one, but your fellow peers are. They are doing that, and there might just be a crazy nut out there that decides one day he's going to do something about it, and you might be the closest officer nearby. Okay, and that's why we should encourage more police officers to quit their job, become whistleblowers, speak out against the system, because as long as you enforcing unconstitutional laws, then you are in the wrong. You are in the wrong. So again, I don't think that anybody that's in the liberty movement or calls themselves a libertarian should necessarily promote violence. We shouldn't. We should be all about peace. But at the same time, we should educate people on why these things are happening and how the police are in the wrong. Okay? And that's very important that we do that. The thing that I find funny is that some people think that they can respect and defend the Constitution while respecting and defending the police. So at the RNC, we had some militias there, and I think they're still there, marching around with their guns or their rifles, which is fine. I'm fine with that. Matter of fact, I like that. That's awesome. But I was listening to a couple of interviews and the media speaking to a few of them. And the ones that I heard never mentioned that they were there for the people. They said they were there for the Second Amendment and they were there for the police. As if the police are getting gunned down and left and right. No, African Americans and whites both are being gunned down left and right by police. There's videos out there over and over. So why are you defending the cops? The people need defending. The people are the ones having their rights violated, not the other way around. Okay? And this is the hypocrisy right here with a lot of right-wingers, conservatives, people in the militia, people on the right side of the political spectrum. This is their problem. They think that somehow, because they keep screaming about the Second Amendment, that they can totally ignore the rest of the Bill of Rights. How can you sit here and say you're defending the Second Amendment, and in the same breath say that you're defending the police. The very people who not only violate the Second Amendment on a daily basis, but they violate the whole Bill of Rights on a daily basis. They all enforce drug laws. They all enforce civil asset forfeiture laws. They all enforce gun laws. They all enforce laws that violate free speech. All of it, all of them, all of them. So how in the world can you sit here and defend that, and then claim you're defending the Second Amendment in the Constitution? So not only do we need to educate the police and people who support the police, but unfortunately we need to educate people who think they represent the Constitution, who think they represent a militia, or think they standing for the Second Amendment, and they don't realize how ridiculous they sound. You just sound ridiculous when you try to defend the Second Amendment and the police in the same breath. You don't understand liberty, you don't understand the Bill of Rights, or you just choose not to, or you do and you're just tricking people, or who knows, maybe some of these people out there are really just government agents to confuse everyone. But something is wrong when people that defend the Second Amendment, or people that say they're for liberty, are out here quick to defend the police in almost everything that they do. Something is wrong with that, because they are part of the problem, and anybody supporting them is part of the problem. We need to put that message out there. We defend liberty. We defend the Bill of Rights. We just defend everyone's individual rights. We do not defend people who violate those rights. Regardless what your boss tells you, regardless what laws are on the books, you respect God-given rights, or you are part of the problem. And all you do is endanger yourself, and a lot of us want peace. We don't want anybody getting harmed or anybody getting hurt. But at the same time, we have to be educated enough to understand what happens when you keep violating people's rights, and you keep harassing people, and you keep gunning down people with no accountability. And then everyone tells me that it's just a few bad apples, but unfortunately, all the supposed good apples never talk about the bad apples. They never call them out. They never call for their arrest. They never call for them to be in jail. None of that. Okay, but when something happens to the police officers, then all of a sudden they want all of us to stand with them, but yet they never stand with us. They call us the enemy. So Black Lives Matter is not part of the problem. Although I don't agree with a lot of their positions, and I don't agree with a lot of their tactics, they are not the problem. They are not in power. They are not violating people's rights without accountability. So therefore, I'm not worried about them. I'm worried about the people who are violating their rights, which is the police, the politicians, and government. That's what I'm worried about. And anybody supporting them and defending it, they're part of the problem. Not the people out there calling out the problem. They're not the problem. So it's very important we address that. And it's funny that Republican Party is supposed to be for freedom. It's supposed to be for the Second Amendment and individual rights. But is there any real freedom at the RNC? Have you guys been able to check out the list of the things you can't have, like selfie sticks? Like whole fruit. They're afraid that people are going to throw tomatoes at Trump. I mean, you know what? This right here is what I'm talking about. And then they're up there talking about Blue Lives Matter. It's all about the police. And at the same time talking about the Constitution. But yet you're talking about the blue coats, the very people who violate it every day. And somehow the Republican Party is for the Constitution. I think not. They're not. And, they're not really tricking anybody with that. I think more and more people are waking up. But what I think we have to recognize, because I hear this a lot, is that the Republican Party is not dead. What we have to understand is the Republican Party is another wing of the Democrat Party. Our government is not full of Republicans. It is full of Democrats and rhinos, Republicans in name only. Almost all of them are Democrats. They're liberals. Look at their voting record. Look at their actions. Listen to the things that they say. Really pick at what they say, and you're going to find out that these are not real conservatives. They're liberals, and they hijacked the party. They infiltrated the party, and the Republican Party is only here to help Democrats win, to help the Democrat Party, to help Hillary. So what people need to understand is that the Republican Party is pro-Hillary. They are pro-Democrats. They are pro-big government. They are pro-police brutality. They're all about rule and authority, not freedom and not individual liberty. They say those things in order to give off that perception. But really, all they're doing is giving liberty a bad name, giving the Constitution a bad name, the Second Amendment a bad name. All they're doing is making it look bad in order to turn off more Americans. Okay? Because they don't want more people in their party. This is what people are failing to understand. You think the Republican Party is trying to win. People keep saying, I don't understand why the Republican Party is doing this, or why they did that, or why they're electing Trump, or, why they elected Romney or McCain. Why aren't they trying to win? No, that's the thing. Get it through your head. They are not here to win. They are not here to beat the Democrats. They're not here for any of that. They're here to lose on purpose. McCain, Romney, Trump, they're all here to lose on purpose. And Trump met with the Clintons before he ran for office, before he announced his run. He met with the Clintons. I mean, it's so obvious that he's a plant. He donated to the Clintons. He admitted that Bill Clinton was his favorite president, said the economy was better under Democrats. He's said and done so many things throughout his life that prove to you he's a liberal. Everything about him is liberal. Nothing about it is conservative. So what happened this election cycle? All these libertarians, liberty voters, real conservatives, all of them are leaving the party now. And yet, some people think that hurts the Republican Party. No, you got it twisted. That helps them, okay? And over the last 8 years, Ron Paul and Rand Paul have been growing the party. They have been bringing in more liberty-minded people, okay? Especially in 2012, when Ron Paul supporters damn near overthrew the establishment. That is a fear to them. So what do you need to do when a whole bunch of people are deciding to get politically involved and they're politically aware and politically mature, so they're calling you out? They're exposing you for what you are. So then if that's the problem, what do you need to happen? What do you need to do? You need to get those people to leave. You need to get those people to want to leave on their own. So that way you don't show your hand and force yourself to expose yourself, the establishment, the man behind the curtain. They don't want that to be exposed. So what do? They bring in Donald Trump. They say all these ridiculous statements and things throughout the election to turn off Republicans, to turn off the party, to make it look worse, to stomp on all the hard work that Ron and Rand have been doing to grow the party. They're trying to stomp that out. And when you sit back and you think about all the things you've seen and you've heard from the Republican Party over the last, let's say, 12 months, it will become apparent, unless you're in denial. Unless you're in denial, it will become apparent that they simply are trying to run out liberty voters, people who are a threat to the establishment. And in 2012, that's what happened. Ron Paul supporters damn near took it over and they scared the hell out of the establishment. And what's happening this time? Nothing near the same. It's not happening. Everybody's saying Trump is anti-establishment. Well, we're finding out that he's not. Look, the establishment is stomping on anybody else who's trying to keep Donald Trump from being the nominee. But why? If they're so scared of him, if they're so against him, why are they trying to stop it? If they really don't want him to be the nominee, it's because they really do want him to be the nominee, and they've always wanted him to be the nominee, and it's always been planned for him to be the nominee, because elections are one big joke. Okay, it's just a way to make us think that we made the decision of who rules over us, when really we didn't decide anything. So it's just a way to keep the masses from revolting. It's a trick. It's a show. It's just to play you. So what we have to understand is the Republican Party wants us to leave. So they put Trump in there to make the Republican Party look worse. They say ridiculous things over the last 12 months to turn off the Republican Party to voters. And then they put the establishment, which owns the same establishment that owns the media and the two parties. They put a spotlight now. All of a sudden, they put a spotlight on third parties, on the Libertarian Party, on the Green Party. Now Gary Johnson's getting interviews left and right. Again, why? Why? To turn you off to the Republican Party, to get you running, to get you out of there, because we got too close to the power structure. We were too much of a threat to the power structure. They need us to leave. They need us to turn around and walk away, and for us to do it on our own. And what better way than to put Trump as the nominee and then to put a spotlight on third parties, to give everybody an incentive to want to leave the Republican Party. It's a trick. It's just to play you. We need to, as liberty voters, we need to become more politically mature about what's going on. We need to be able to see things for what they really are and what's really happening. Otherwise, we just get played. Politics, elections is a game. You either play that game or you get played by the game. And if you out here jumping from candidate to candidate, party from party, you're getting all emotional and getting all caught up in the election, then you are being played. Because they've already decided who's going to be president. They've already decided what the next headline is, the next story, next big story is going to be. They have all that planned out. It's one big soap opera. It's one big reality TV show, and you're just an extra. The problem is you don't even realize you're being filmed. You don't even realize you're part of the movie or you're part of the show. So you're being played. What we libertarians need to start doing is we need to start recognizing what elections are used for, what they really are, and we need to start using it to our advantage. Stop being fooled. Stop being played. Stop worrying about the vote because the vote don't count, and that's apparent. If you actually think Hillary Clinton beat Bernie Sanders with all these votes, then I don't know what to tell you. You're just gullible. You're just being fooled. But we need to stop thinking of it in terms of parties. What party represents me? What party am I going to be a part of because they stand up for liberty? That's not how we think of it. That's not how we should be thinking of it. We need to think of it as government. I need to confront my government. I need to confront the people who rule over me. So who is ruling over me? Who is my government? My government is made up of Republicans and Democrats. It is not made up of third parties at all. There's 254 Republicans in the House, and I think 54 Republicans in the Senate. The Republican Party is not dead. They just want you to think that it is. So those of us who are awake, who are a threat, will leave. That's what it is. So stop looking for a party to join. I wish, matter of fact, we should just stop saying parties. Join your government so you can confront your government and you can speak out and expose your government. And when you go to third parties, Libertarian, Green Party, whoever, the government ain't there. The establishment is not there. Your rulers who rule over you are not there. Okay? It don't matter if you register as a Libertarian or Green Party because you still got to obey the laws that Republicans and Democrats pass. You still got to pay the taxes that Republicans and Democrats pass. So why in the world why address anybody but Republicans or Democrats? Okay? So I think all of us that call ourselves libertarians, we need to stay in the Republican Party, not because we agree with it, not because we like it, not because we're happy about it, or because we're just dying to be Republicans. No, well, because we recognize that is where our rulers are. And we need to go address we need to go talk and speak to them. We need to let them hear our frustration. I have no beef with anybody in the Libertarian Party. Nobody in the Libertarian Party is ruling over me or violating my rights, so there's no reason to be over there. That's what it is. It's just one big hangout. But you know what? I think I'm alone in this, or I'm part of a small minority because not very many people agree with this position. But when you know the truth and you speak the truth, you need to get it out there. You need to push it out there. And I'm totally convinced after Ron Paul 2008 and 2012, I'm totally convinced that Ron Paul put the cat out the bag and exposed us to what the problem is and what the solution is. The problem is government. The problem is the media blackout. The problem is the establishment pretty much controlling all the rules, controlling everything. And the solution is that we shed light on that. You can't shed light on that being in a third party. You need to shed light on it by being involved in one of the two major parties, not going along with it, not playing ball so you can get along with everyone and be nice and try to move up and get credentials. No, none of that. We are there to confront the establishment that rules over us. That is our purpose. That is what we are supposed to be doing as citizens, as individuals, as libertarians. We join the party not because it represents us, but simply the exact opposite reason, because it doesn't represent us. And that's why we need to be there. We got to recognize that our government is being controlled by psychopaths, by people who don't care about us, people who don't respect liberty, people who are sellouts. So because of that, it is the duty of all of us sane Americans, those of us that do believe in liberty, even if we don't want to, it is our duty to go over there and let our voices be heard and kick the establishment out of their seats. I'm not looking to run against the establishment. I'm not looking to compete against the establishment because you're on their turf and you're playing by their rules. So therefore, you don't even get a fair shot. And all these libertarians somehow trust the vote. They trust the polls. Then you trust government. And that's part of the problem. Okay, we don't go into the two-party system because we trust it. Matter of fact, it's the exact opposite. We join it because we don't trust them and we're tired of them being in control, and we need to say something about it. I don't know how much more clear I can make that, but more and more of us need to wake up to that and stop being politically immature, stop being dumbed down and being played as a fool, because that's what's happening to us. And a lot of us ain't gonna realize it till we get our feelings hurt and we see Gary Johnson and the Libertarian Party for what it is, Okay. Um, what else I want to get into here? Another thing that happened at the RNC is Alex Jones. If you haven't seen this, and Alex Jones, man, he's at the RNC and he's doing what he usually does, making a bunch of noise, screaming and hollering, saying a bunch of nothing, and so apparently he got in the middle of a rowdy crowd and he's getting them hyped. They're getting hyped. And apparently I think someone bumped him and then he lunged at them or pushed them back or whatever. And I ain't even necessarily mad at him for that. Nothing, it wasn't that physical. It wasn't that big of a deal. But it just kind of shed some light on something, because Alex Jones, as soon as he was pretty much touched, the cops just swarmed in. Almost like, they're watching him. Almost like he's being protected. Almost like he's one of them. And that's another thing that I think a lot of us in the liberty movement need to recognize. We need to recognize that as time goes on, more people that call themselves libertarians or freedom lovers, more of them are going to start showing their true colors, because a lot of them have been bought out, they've been sold, they sold out, or they always been infiltrated. They've always been part of the CIA or government agents or whatever. But when I see Alex Jones stirring up, getting people hype and getting people wild, and then the cops escort him out, and they got all these cops around him, protecting him, keeping him safe so he can be escorted away, that tells that to me, actions speak louder than words. And I think that right there in itself shows that he ain't one of us, he's one of them. Okay, because the cops ain't protecting anybody like that, not you or me. They don't give a damn about us, but for some reason they give a damn about him. And so a couple people ask me, well, why you call Alex Jones a sellout? Well, he's a sellout because he's a traitor to liberty. He's no longer defending liberty. This is the guy who made video after video about the police state, and now he loves the police. Now he defends the police. Now he's taking shots at Black Lives Matter, who is doing exactly what he was doing, maybe not in the same light, but the same way he was calling out police brutality in the police state. They're doing the same thing, but somehow they're the problem now. Somehow they're racist now. You know what I'm saying? And then he comes out this year and endorses Trump. There's nothing about Trump that says liberty or Constitution or Bill of Rights or individual rights. Nothing, none of it. And instead, what does he do? He endorses him and he makes excuses for Trump, almost like he's got a check. And now almost everybody over there at InfoWars is defending Trump and defending the police. So they've done nothing but turn into a mainstream media outlet. He just reminds me of Rush Limbaugh or Mark Levin. It's like he's no different than them anymore. He used to be about truth, or at least he used to pretend to be. And he used to expose everybody in government. But now that Trump's there, it's a whole nother story. Where was Alex Jones when Ron Paul was throwing his convention? Where was Alex Jones then? Alex Jones want to expose the delegate process now, but where was he at when Ron Paul and his delegates were being cheated in 2008 and in 2012? Where was Alex Jones and his people at, and his cameras, and his voice? Nowhere to be found. Okay? So, once again, this is about becoming politically mature, understanding our surroundings, understanding what's going on, picking up on it, seeing through it. Stop looking at the politicians, start looking through the politicians. Same thing with these activists, these so-called liberty activists, or liberty celebrities, maybe we can call them, that everybody knows. Are they really for liberty, or do they have another agenda? Whether it's grow their sales or for their website, or it's a more sinister agenda where they're helping government and they're nothing but an agent. I don't know. I don't really care. All I know is that if you don't stand for liberty and you don't stand for individual rights, it's my duty. Not because I want to, but it is simply my duty to call you out. Because you don't represent liberty in the right way, or you defend police, or you defend police brutality, or government violating our rights. Now you are standing in the way of my liberty, all of our liberty. And so you need to be called out for it. So I think the problem is that everybody, a lot of people in the movement, a lot of people that call themselves libertarians, it just seems like everybody wants to be nice. Everybody wants to get along. Everybody wants to compromise, come up with excuses. Well, I'm tired of all that shit. That's not what we need. We need some people to come tell the truth. Represent the Constitution in a real way. Defend it completely. Okay? So when I tell you the cops are unconstitutional, I don't need to hear about your excuses on how some cops are good, not all of them are bad. It's irrelevant. All of them violate the Bill of Rights. And Alex Jones knows that. Donald Trump knows that. People that the elite in the Republican Party know that. But they're not going to inform you of that. They're not going to inform you of that because they want you to be confused. They want you to be gullible. They want you to pick sides. That's why you got when it comes to this Black Lives Matter thing, you got extremists on both sides. You got people as part of Black Lives Matter who think all white people are part of the problem, which is ridiculous, you know. And then you have some people on the right side who think black people are part of the problem, or they're just making up excuses, or they're exaggerating. And that's definitely not it. If anything, they're not mad enough, as far as I'm concerned. Now, they're definitely not educated enough as a whole to understand the root cause of the problem and the solution, which is our individual rights and them being violated. But nonetheless, we need to be standing up for what's right and not standing up for the left side or the right side or who we like or who we identify with more. That's not what this is about. It's about individual liberty. You call yourself a libertarian or you say that you're for liberty, then you need to represent it and you need to defend it no matter what, no matter who. It doesn't matter if somebody got gunned down and you don't agree with their lifestyle or you don't like their criminal record or anything. All that's irrelevant. What happened at that time, that moment in time with that event? And did somebody's rights get violated? And should there be a trial for it? Should there be accountability for it? Those are the type of questions you need to ask yourself. Everything else is irrelevant. And if you're siding with the right or you're siding with the left, then you are part of the problem. You are part of the problem. We need more people in the middle. When conservatives are right about the IRS and about taxes and about regulations and about people like the Bundys and the government taking our land, when the conservatives are right on those issues, then I stand with them. And I stand with them wholeheartedly. And I will defend them. When liberals and people on the left stand up against police brutality, you know, and against government killing people and getting off, they're in the right. They're correct. So I stand with them. I defend them. Okay, when they talk about us bombing the Middle East or us targeting Muslims, that is wrong. So therefore, they are correct for calling that out. And I stand with them and defend them. You see, it's not that hard. I stand for what's right. I defend what's right. And I call out what is wrong. That is our duty. We as libertarians, those of us in the movement, need to stop looking at government as a way that we're going to change something, or looking at elections or third parties as a way to bring about change or for things to get better. That is not. Elections are simply a vehicle that you use to get the message out, message of liberty out to people, educate them, and to shed light on your government and expose them. Where the vote ends up, where the polls end up, who's the candidate, who's the nominee, all of that is irrelevant. You should not be worried about that, and you should not be focused on it because you need to understand it's already been pre-selected. Your job is to get the message out, plant those liberty seeds, wake people up, and shed light on your government, because that's what government fears, is people shedding light on them. That's what the Republican Party fears. People shedding light on their corruption. People shedding light on how they don't defend the Constitution. That's why they want all of us to leave, because we're shedding too much light. They need the curtains to be back on. Put the curtains back up. Stop letting all that light in, because more people are going to wake up. That's why Ron Paul was a threat. That's why Ron Paul was dangerous. Okay? And more and more of us need to recognize that, man. We need to realize that. Let's focus on the message. Let's focus on exposing the vote. Let's focus on exposing the machine. And a lot of people ask me, well, if you don't believe the vote counts, you know, why show up and vote then? Why should we vote at all? Well, again, who's going to shed light on government if we're not there to shed that light, to open up the curtain? So the more people that show up to vote, the more likely voting fraud comes to the surface and it's exposed. And that's a good thing. We need the fraud and the corruption to come to light. We need it to be exposed. So when I go get in line to vote and I write in Rand or I write in Ron because I ain't voting for none of the other ones and I ain't voting third party, I know my vote don't count. I already know it don't mean nothing. I'm doing that for my conscience, for myself. But the main reason why I am there is because I understand that as long as all of us stay at home and we don't get involved and we don't show up, then all the corruption is hidden. It's done in secret. It doesn't come to light. And before we can have a revolution and bring about real change, we need to wake up the masses. And in order to wake up the masses, we have to shed light to show them what's going on, show them what's wrong. But without that light, we just got to get them to try to believe us and hope that we're correct. But that's not going to work. Ron Paul proved that. He got inside the machine. He got inside the party. He infiltrated the mainstream, and he forced the government and the media to show their true colors and expose themselves. And what happened? All that light got in, and all those people saw it, and that's how Ron Paul started a movement. And now the Republican Party and the establishment is working on squashing that movement by bringing in people like Trump, by shedding light on people like Gary Johnson, to get everybody divided, to divide everybody up, make everybody less of a force to reckon with. And again, this isn't rocket science. It's common sense if you just sit there and look at it for what it is and stop being so gullible and stop being so easily fooled. Okay? Last thing I want to get into is a little bit of good news. Rand Paul's campaign is doing really well in fundraising, at least better than his opponent, Jim Gray. States here, and I'll post up the article. Rand Paul will report raising $1.3 million in the latest fundraising quarter that ended June 30th. Paul's campaign told Pure Politics on Tuesday. That's more than the nearly $1.1 million raised by Lexington Mayor Jim Gray, the Democratic candidate in the race. So Rand is doing better with money. We know he's conservative. He's all about spending his money wisely, just like his father. And that's the type of person that we need in office. And one thing about Rand Paul, that when it comes to the media, that made me think of this was today or yesterday with the RNC and everything that's going on. It's amazing that we talk about Melania Trump and her speech, and yet there's no mention of Rand Paul doing free eye surgery yesterday. I think for like 6 people he gave sight to. This is what a candidate that was running for office is doing on his off time while he's running for office again. And where is the media? Nowhere. When Rand Paul went to Haiti during the presidential election and he did surgery over there, I think the media sent one reporter, did maybe a few second segment, and that was it. So don't you see? You see what's going on? If the Republican Party was really trying to win, don't you think they'd be bragging about someone like Rand Paul? Don't you think they'd be bragging about him doing free eye surgery? Bragging about him going to speak to black communities and speaking out and educating them on how conservatism and small government is for them? Wouldn't the Republican Party brag about this? But no, what happens? They keep quiet, the media keeps quiet, and it all gets swept under the rug. And instead, we talk about shit that doesn't matter. Like Melania Trump's speech. Instead of showing the people that here goes a real candidate, a real person doing something constructive for society, doing something that really helps the country, that really helps people, and it also brings people together. It brings people together, man, to see that somebody actually cares out there. But then here goes our establishment and our government just totally ignoring it. No recognition, no props, no respect. We just going to talk about everything that doesn't matter. Trump, the RNC, all this chaos going on, all irrelevant. And here we have a man actually doing something, and he gets no recognition for it. That's how you know he is the anti-establishment candidate. And any candidate that is not informing you about your individual rights, and they are not educating you. I'm talking about like you going to class when you hear them speak. Anyone not educating you, you know right then and there, they are part of the problem, and either they're sold out and been sold out for a long time ago, or they're just ignorant and they don't understand themselves about liberty. And then themselves are confused. Either way, whichever one it is, doesn't matter. We stand up for those who are against the machine, not for it. And Donald Trump is the establishment. And if you're still saying that he isn't, then you're the gullible one I'm talking about. You're being played and tricked. And you hate Hillary so much, you're right there supporting the plant that she put in there. It's so obvious, man. Let's wake up. Let's wake up to it. But anyways, that's my show for today, you guys. Just wanted to kind of get a little bit off my chest there. Try to be back on again on Friday. Be sure to share the video, the audio. Don't forget to like the page if you haven't already. Occupy the Media, occupythemedia.com, and also Occupy the Media on YouTube. And lastly, I just want to say, if there are any libertarians out there who are listening and you are real libertarian, I ain't talking about these phony ones out here supporting Trump, but if you're really libertarian, you're about individual rights, or you're against police brutality, I'm looking for you. I'm looking for more writers for the website and for the page, and hit me up. Let's get together. Let's try and grow this movement, this Occupy the Media, and let's get some more articles up. So you can contact me either on the Occupy the Media page, or even better, my personal Facebook page at Paco Elijah. All right. Till next time. Peace.